Welcome to a brand new episode of the Transfer Talk, where we'll be discussing the latest Palace transfer rumours of the weekend. There's lots to go through, so without further ado, let's get started. The first rumour is on Danny Welbeck. According to the Daily Mail, Danny Welbeck is attracting interest from Southampton and Crystal Palace. I don't think I have to say much about Danny Welbeck. I guess many of you already know who he is. He's turning 30 later on in a couple months, which is quite surprising because I remember the days where he's still around 25-ish. So Danny Welbeck linked with a move to Palace, but the only problem with this is injuries. Danny Welbeck hasn't been able to stay fit for a long time now. The last time he played above 20 games was when he was at Arsenal around the 17-18 season. So he hasn't been able to perform consistently. And now when you look at Palace, we've got a player like that in Connor Wickham, where we got Connor Wickham and we haven't seen the best out of him. I mean, he's a good footballer when he plays, but he doesn't play as much. So it's not really a smart investment in that aspect. And I feel like if we do get Danny Welbeck, could it be the same thing that happened? Possibly, because that's what history has provided. Danny Welbeck is injury prone, and it's just unfortunate for him. But then again, Palace have to consider this. Is it worth going and investing in a player like Danny Welbeck, who has proven to be injured many times in the past? I don't think so. But Danny Welbeck, when you come to the player himself, he's a good finisher. There's no problem with his game. I feel like he might suit Palace's style as well. But that one thing does hold a massive factor in whether I think we should go and get Danny Welbeck. But England international as well, if you care about that. Danny Welbeck is linked with a move to Palace. But let me know what you think. I prefer other strikers that we've been linked with in the past, such as the Watkins. And there's also another striker that we'll be talking about in a couple of minutes in this episode. So yeah, I don't think we should go out and get Danny Welbeck due to his past injury problems, but some of you may disagree, so let me know. The next rumour is on Jordon. According to Sunday Mirror, Newcastle United and Crystal Palace are both weighing up moves for Jordon Ibe, whose Premier League experience appeals to both clubs. Jordon Ibe's career has been bit confusing because when he first joined Liverpool, he was very highly rated there, and then he couldn't really get into the first team because they had Sterling, Sturridge, and Suarez there. And then he went out on loan, performed at a couple clubs there, went back to Liverpool, didn't quite work out for him, and then he joined Bournemouth now, and now he's a free agent. He hasn't been able to perform consistently at Bournemouth, and they've actually released him, and that's quite worrying because you don't want to get players who can't perform consistently. Of course, there's going to be certain players who perform better at certain clubs due to the system changes, but with Jordon Ibe, the fact that you're releasing this player based on his performances and not offering him another contract is quite worrying. Of course, Bournemouth did get relegated. That might be another factor into it, but I'm not a massive fan of Jordon Ibe, I'll be honest with you. He hasn't been able to get the goals and assists. He hasn't been able to live up to the hype. Whether he can live up to the hype if he joins Palace, that's a question that none of us know. But there are other options out there for us, such as Ryan Fraser, another option I'll be talking about in a couple of minutes as well, that I would prefer above Jordon Ibe. So if it came to it, it'll be my last resort because he hasn't really proven himself in the Premier League to perform consistently. But yeah, we'll see. Jordon Ibe is linked with a move to Palace, and this is not the first time it's happened. But let me know what you think about Jordon Ibe rumours, and if you're a fan of this. The next rumour is on James McCarthy. According to the website 90 Minutes, Celtic are increasingly keen to sign a replacement for Scott Brown this summer, fearing the 35-year-old captain will be unable to see out the season. And Palace's James McCarthy is the player they want, but they will have to sell to raise funds for him. James McCarthy has been rumoured to leave Palace for quite a while now. Before, there were rumours, I think back in January, correct me if I'm wrong, that he wanted to move back up to North. And now this summer window, it's been rumoured that he wants to go Celtic, and Celtic are interested in him. But as the report suggests, Celtic need to sell before they can get McCarthy. But it's no surprise because we've been linked with lots of midfielders, and I wasn't too sure whether it's for a replacement or whether it's one for the future. But I guess the reason why we're linked with all these midfielders is because we're likely to sell McCarthy. And at this point, I feel like I would be surprised if McCarthy is a Palace player at the end of the window. But I guess that would be a positive to some of you, and a negative, I guess it'll be, if Roy's watching this, it'll be negative to Roy because he's been a massive fan of McCarthy and has given him the game time. So we'll see what happens with McCarthy. Of course, I'm not a massive fan. I think he can get replaced, but then again, I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be. So McCarthy is rumored to join Celtics and has been for a while, but it seems like they have to sell before they can buy him. According to the Telegraph, West Ham United are willing to sell Josh Cullen for a low fee this summer, with Palace and Fulham both monitoring the midfielder. It has been more than 2 years since Cullen appeared for the Hammers first team. Nevertheless, his stock has risen in the time, having enjoyed 2 promising loan spells at Charlton. As the report suggested, he hasn't played for West Ham for nearly 2 years now, which is quite surprising. But the main positive out of this is that West Ham can't beat us if it's their player. So yes, Josh Cullen is linked with a move to Palace, has been on loan at Charlton, and just looking at his play is pretty standard. He's a central midfielder, only 24 years old, and of course, looking at it, it's pretty much basic. He's good at tackling. He loves doing the basic work. He's not really physically built as well, so he's quite fast on the ball and quite good to track back as well. But Cullen is linked with a move to Palace, and as I've said just in a previous rumor, that all these rumors are seeming to pop up because of the James McCarthy rumor now that he's rumored to leave the club. So Josh Cullen linked with a move to Palace. Not too sure about this one, but we'll see what happens. According to the website Ebola, the agent of Newcastle United and Crystal Palace target Moussa Marega says contact has been made with English clubs over a move this summer, but with his contract expiring next summer, Marega represents an opportunity for both clubs. So the first thing I've done with Marega is, of course, go and check him out. Go and check his highlights. And the funny thing about this highlights is that I don't know who made the video, but in his highlights, there was lots of missed sitters. And I guess if that's his highlights, then I'll be worried. But then again, there were some good goals as well. Let's just say this. It was an honest highlight. It was a highlight that's showing the good and the bad. And based on the highlight, it doesn't seem too bad, but I looked at his record. He's got 103 goals in 277 games, so that's not too bad in his career. He's physically built, 29 years old, which is a bit confusing because we've been targeting younger players, and just like Daniel Welbeck, it seems like Palace may be looking at the older players just for the next upcoming season because we desperately need another striker. So if it's not a younger player, then it might have to be someone like Daniel Welbeck or in Marega in this case. So yes, physically built, good in the air, has mainly, when he has scored in highlights, it has been mainly from his right foot. But interesting one, do we get him now or next summer? Because as the report suggested, his contract is running out. So if he's not signing another contract, then we might be able to get him on the cheap now. But then next summer, you could get him on the free. But it doesn't make sense to go and get him next summer because even if it was an age factor, whereas if he was 21 and we might get him next summer, then yeah, it will work out. But he's 29 years old and we need a striker now. So I hope it's for this summer if the Marega rumors are true. But we'll see what happens with Marega. As I said, 29 years old, plays for FC Porto. So he's out there in Portugal, but we're linked with him. And the highlights, I'll put in the link in the description down below so you can go and watch it. It's quite funny. According to the Daily Mail, Crystal Palace are considering a move for QPR winger Bright Samuel after signing his teammate Eze last week. So Bright Samuel has been linked with a move to Palace for around, I think, a month ago now. He was linked with a move, but then again, he was close in a move to another club back in Belgium. So that seemed like it has broken down, and now he's back at QPR. And Palace are also considering another move for him. So he's actually played with Eberechi Eze before. So I guess there'll be no chemistry issues there because both of the players know each other. But when I'm talking about the Jordon rumor, I was talking about Bright Samuel, of course. Someone like him or Ryan Fraser, I'd prefer above him because, yes, Bright Samuel hasn't done it in the Premier League, but he's proven himself in the Championship as well. And he looks like a player who's comfortable on the ball. If you go and watch his highlights for QPR, very comfortable, goes and plays down the right-hand side, the left-hand side, centrally. So he's just an attacking player, but not a striker. He's just an attacking player like Eberechi Eze. So hopefully the Bright Samuel rumours can pop back up. And I just want to know how much it will cost because it's not really in the report, so it hasn't said it in the report, so I'm not too sure exactly how much it will cost. But if it's something of a fair price, I think the Club Brugge, when they were after him, they got a bid of around £3 million rejected. So it doesn't seem like it will cost a lot for Palace, and it could work out well. We could have Eze and Bright Samuels, and I don't know if QPR fans will hate us after this, but both could be decent players. And we saw Eze on the weekend, he was actually decent. So let's see what happens with Bright Samuels. Linked with him before. Another rumour pops back up. It seems like we're considering a move for him, but let's see if Palace actually go ahead with it. According to the Ipswich Star, Ipswich Town have rejected a second bid for Flynn Downes from Premier League club Crystal Palace. The Eagles' initial offer earlier this summer was in the region of £1 million, and that they are now close to the valuation of £2 million. Flynn Downes, 21-year-old midfielder at Ipswich. In terms of what type of player he is, when looking at his highlights, one thing that stood out for me is straight away his ball control. He's very comfortable on the ball, which is something that you need in the Premier League because you get under pressure nowadays straight away from the opposition due to the intensity. So he's linked with a move to Palace. He seemed like Palace had a bid rejected of £1 million and are closer to the region of £2 million. And that's nothing, pretty much. It would be risk worth taking because it's not major risk in terms of the money involved. £2 million shouldn't be too much of a problem for Palace, and hopefully his wages also shouldn't be a problem as well. So let me know if you know more about Flynn Downes. But as I said, the one thing that stood out for me is his ball control. But we'll see what happens and if Palace actually do go ahead with this deal in the coming days. Well, that's it for today. It's been a crazy long episode talking about lots of rumours that happened over the weekend. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And until next time, up the Palace.